Mills Bowl returns down in Ashland, and it's bringing something back that is a tradition from almost 40 years ago that is being brought back to life by, in part, the head coach of the Southern Oregon University Raiders, Berk Brown. Kind enough to join us now. Coach, how you doing, man?
I'm awesome, buddy. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, Mills Bowl. All right. First of all, on the surface, tell us what is going on, because it's a really cool opportunity for your young men down at SOU, which the only college football team in America that's going to be playing another team for their spring game.
Yeah, it's super neat opportunity for us. So we are playing Kwansei Gakuen University out of Japan, who is a 36-time national champion in Japan, and they just won the national championship last year. And so, yeah, it's going to be a heck of an opportunity for us to get challenged by a really good football team. And like you said, man, we're the only team in the United States playing someone else this spring. So we're pretty fortunate.
Now, the history behind it is really cool too, though. Chuck Mills, former head coach at SOU, he started this tradition back in the 80s. And, you know, why bring it back now? And how did this all start back in the early 80s when Coach Mills was running the show at Southern?
Yeah, so at Coach Mills' previous stops at Utah State and Wake Forest is actually when he started taking his teams to Japan to play in the spring. And so, you know, as he shifted jobs, he kept in contact with the organizations in Japan that run all the football leagues. And so, yeah, it was just a continued thing under Coach Mills to keep this relationship with the people in Japan to play, Kwansei Gakuen University. It originally started as when he was at Utah State, he brought them out there to play an all-star team from Japan. And then it just kind of morphed into, Southern Oregon University playing KGU. So, yeah, it kind of came about, I actually stepped into it. It was a relationship from the previous head coach here at SOU, Coach Charlie Hall, that he had with the people from Japan, because he was the head coach at Ashland High School. And Dusty, as you know, Ashland High School every year plays a team from Japan. So that's kind of how it got started. It was actually slated to go last year, but we weren't in the position at SOU. I had barely hired a staff to be playing anyone last spring. So we put it off a year, and here we are ready to rock and roll.
So a return trip to Japan, is this going to be an annual event, or is this going to be, they come here and maybe you guys head back in the future?
Yeah, I think we owe them a trip back to Japan. I don't think it'll be next year. So I don't know if it'll be an annual thing, but it's something we want to definitely do every couple of years. Their first day in town was last night, and we actually had a banquet with them this morning at breakfast, and it's just a really neat opportunity for both sides to get introduced to some culture that they haven't been around before, and I think it's only fitting that we head back to Japan and return the trip.
All right, now we're talking with Berk Brown, head coach, Southern Oregon University. They're going to be playing the Japanese national champion for their spring game this Saturday down in Ashland. What does it look like as you're trying to prepare not just your team for spring ball, where you focus a lot on yourself, but you're getting ready for an opponent that literally nothing about?
Yeah, it's been crazy. So, we spent the first 10 practices of the 15 that were allowed during the spring, doing as you just said, and that's focusing on ourselves. As we rolled around to this last week, and that's finally when we're treating this week just like we would any week in the fall, getting ready for a football game. So the coaching staff got in this weekend and started breaking down the tape and watching the film, and we introduced game plans on Monday, and we've gone through the week just like we would, like I said, if we were in October sometime. What we found in our studying is that, albeit that they play all the same rules that we do in Japan, there's just a cultural difference in the game from how they line up in different formations and how they go about blocking certain running schemes to how they run defense. There's some definite differences that we're we're just not used to seeing. So it's a challenge for our coaches to kind of get in the minds of their coaching staff and see what they're trying to accomplish just based on some things that we're just not used to seeing. So it's been fun that way. And then, you know, they play some serious football in Japan. I think people might, you know, be misunderstood, you know, when you talk about football in Japan. What people have to understand is that there's over 200 colleges that play football in Japan, and this is the best one of them all. And so it's going to be a hell of a challenge for us on Saturday, man. This is a really cool opportunity.
And as you've gotten, you said they got into town yesterday, as you've kind of gotten to know the coaching staff a little bit, I'm sure there's a little bit of communication between you and their coaching staff as you guys are setting this whole thing up and trading game film. What has been their level of excitement for coming over and playing an American football team, which, I mean, it doesn't matter what level it is, they get to play in the States against an American team?
Yeah, there's a ton of national pride for them for this game. And it just oozes out of them. When we were having breakfast this morning, you could tell how excited they were to come, you know, to the States and play a team from, you know, America, and they get to show off how good they really are against, you know, a team, you know, who you know, we're coming off a pretty good season ourselves. So you could tell that they're pretty juiced for this game. We actually will share a practice with them this afternoon, and, you know, we'll do some 7-on-7 drills with them. We'll do some 1-on-1 pass rush stuff with them, kind of break the ice a little bit and maybe knock some nerves out of each team. But yeah, Coach Kaz, their head coach, and I have spoken length about, you know, what this game should look and feel like. And it's, you know, both teams are coming in to battle and win. And so it's been an awesome experience so far.
Do you, in the back of your mind, are you watching tape and saying, can we get some of these guys over here? Like, are you using it as recruiting?
No, 100%. You know, they don't have the transfer portal in Japan though, so I don't think we're going to have that happen. And it's a topic of conversation their head coach and I had actually. And you know, when they get a guy, they get him for 4 or 5 years. But yeah, they've got some serious players. They've got a quarterback who is going to make our life really hard. He scrambles, he extends plays, he can throw the football down the field. They've got a running back who's a real playmaker, a linebacker / edge rusher who we're worried about. And all of these guys would excel, you know, at the small college level here in the States. And yeah, those would be guys that we would definitely want to recruit and go after.
Now, the Mills Trophy is the equivalent of the Heisman over in Japan.
Yeah, that's correct.
Are we gonna get this? Are you gonna lay down enough roots to have the Brown Trophy over there?
Buddy, I am so worried about what we're trying to accomplish right now. There's no way I have time to even think about anything else but just getting us ready for these dudes upcoming this Saturday and then going into the fall and putting a good show on the field on Saturday afternoons, man.
I know you're busy, and I appreciate the time, buddy. Before we let you go, what is your message to your team as you're getting ready? Because this is truly unique in what you guys are doing here. And you guys do it with a lot of guys from here in our own backyard. I mean, Portland, Southwest Washington, and up and down the I-5 corridor is where a big bulk of your roster is made. What is your kind of message to those guys as you guys get ready to play a team from across an entire ocean?
Yeah, first and foremost, you know, I think you have to put it in perspective for them. And what I've told them really all spring long is how we kind of started this conversation is, man, bank your lucky stars, because you're getting an opportunity to face a different colored jersey in the spring, and no one else in the country is getting this opportunity. So you better take advantage of it. And secondly, like, we are going to be tested, and we're going to be tested early in this 2024 season to see what young guys can step up and fill the roles of the guys who graduated last year. So this is an opportunity not only for the cultural experience, but for our guys to get ready for the 2024 season. We've got some big shoes to fill. We know we're moving in the right direction down here at SOU. You know, we beat the 5th ranked team in the country in the last game of the year. We finished 6-4, doubled the win total from the last 2 years. And so we know that there's a lot on the line here, and this could be a real big boost going into the summer and be a real confidence builder as we head into September 7th and welcome Lincoln University to Raider Stadium. So there's a lot on the line here. There's a lot of guys vying for playing time, vying to be the guy on Saturday afternoons in the fall. And then furthermore, it's bragging rights, right? It's cultural bragging rights here in the States. And we know we're playing for a lot more than just Southern Oregon University.
Love it. Coach, have a good one, man, and we'll talk to you soon.
Dusty, I appreciate it, buddy.
There he is, Berk Brown, head coach at SOU. It's a really cool opportunity for them because you don't get to play a team like a Japanese team coming over.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if they were to play Oregon, it would be a bloodbath.
Yeah.
But this is at the NAIA level. It's one of those opportunities where, taking a team back over to Japan in the future, whether that's next year or the following year. I know they have plans in the works for that. That's a really cool thing that you can kind of retrace to your history and having a coach that introduced American football to Japan, and now 200 colleges play it over there.
Yeah, that's bananas, him being the pioneer of American football in Japan. And one thing that I kind of got to thinking about, the two of the words that he said was cultural differences. And he was talking in terms of how they line up on the field and whatnot. But for me, it got me thinking about in terms of, between plays and post plays and after the tackle and getting up and activity, behavior and whatnot on the field. Not to say that, we're going to be big, dumb Americans or anything, but
we are.
Yes, but we are. But wondering about the differences and how the different nationalities comport themselves on the field.
Yeah, I was talking to him about he's like, we don't even know where to start with game film, because you go on Twitter and you're trying to look up clips. You don't even know what to search for because you don't know Japanese.
Right, exactly.
So you get in the weeds to it, and Reddit college football, they'll post on Twitter highlights of the Japanese league nonstop during their season. And that's the other thing. They're starting their season now. So they've gone through training camp.
Gotcha.
And so they're at the beginning of their season to where this is spring ball, and then you take the whole summer off, and then you get back into training camp come fall. It's crazy. And Chuck Mills, who kind of started this, when I was down in Ashland, and Berk was a teammate of mine, and we didn't get to any of the stories that we have from college, and that's probably for the best.
I think we need a whole hour for that, probably, at least, or a show.
Maybe more. But
how do we not get him in here on Dusty and Friends?
We've got, when I was down there, Chuck Mills, our office secretary at the time, Rhonda, she said when Coach Mills was the head coach, he was always trying to find that edge and that advantage and kind of be creative and new. And that's where he got taking Wake Forest and Utah State over to Japan initially, and then taking Southern over to Japan. It was kind of planting the seed to see if he could tap into something new and unique. Well, Rhonda told me the stories of back when there's one secretary for the entire athletic department. Anytime he would find out a player had a son, she would have to create a scholarship offer for an infant so they could send an official scholarship offer to any former player who had a boy. They would she was it was nonstop.
That's pretty funny.
And just beating down the door. So he was one of those guys, and now he's got the equivalent of the Heisman over there is named after him, and they are the national champs are coming over. It's gonna be really fascinating. There's gonna be a lot more eyes than normal on that game because it is catching kind of national headlines that the Japanese national champ is coming over and playing a team right here in our own backyard.
I wonder if that was the impetus for hiring another secretary, was having somebody solely for all of the newborn scholarship offers.
All right. Really cool. And bringing stories like that to people because it's going to be cool. And I mean, I'm sure you knew a lot of people. Hell, I have never traveled across an ocean before.
Nope.
But that return trip and the doorways that sports can open up. He mentioned Ashland High School. Every 2 years, Ashland High School does this with the Japanese high school team. So if you are in the Ashland High program for 4 years, you will have an all expenses paid trip to Japan where you go there for a week and then you play a football game against a high school team in Japan.
That's pretty cool.
And then 2 years later, they'll come and they come to Ashland and play. There's a lot of people that otherwise won't have the opportunity to probably ever go to Japan.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. That's a long trip and not cheap.
And I'm not sure like they would have let me in or back to the States. Either one of them if I were to go when I was in college. So it probably says something about the roster that they have, that they're going to be able to take all their guys over there eventually.
Could have wound up with a fancy set of interlocking bracelets, huh?
It's pretty cool though. It's a great event, and check it out this weekend. It'll be on socials, and they're going to have the live stream of the game. So pretty neat.
Very
pretty
cool.
neat.